Welcome to episode 3 of Supra Supreme.
Today is the day we get to see if the V12 engine and Tremec transmission fit in the Mark IV engine bay.
But before we do, we'd like to take a moment to properly introduce the wonderful piece of engineering that is the Toyota V12.
Now, this isn't the first time that someone's attempted to stuff this V12 engine into a Toyota Supra. Most famously, Top Secret in Japan did it when they got one of these engines and they forged it and they put on twin turbos and they made a good 1,000 horsepower, but we think it's time to do it again and do it the WTF Auto way.
So far, we've prepared the Supra by removing the entire driveline, fitting the V12 to the frame and managing to adapt the Tremec gearbox to the back of it.
Now the big question is will that fit?
Well, I mean, obviously, Top Secret in Japan did it, but we want to do it a little bit differently and with a few less race car tricks.
Yeah, that's right. See, to make everything fit, they took the radiator out of the engine bay and they put it behind the driver. They put vents where side windows were meant to be. They even got rid of the sump and they put a dry sump lubrication system like what you'd find in a race car. I mean, that's all well and good, but I want this car to be practical. I don't want to drive the car, oh, look, there's a radiator behind me. I want it to be pretty normal. So we're going to put the radiator in the engine bay. We're going to keep the wet sump lubrication system. We're going to make this a car that we can use every day. We're going to have to fit a lot more hardware in this engine bay.
So enough gas bagging, let's get on with it.
So here we are, we've got the engine on the frame underneath the car and we're going to see if it fits in the engine bay. So this is where it gets a little bit awkward. We're trying to lower the whole frame in, but the suspension is just sort of dangling around and catching on everything. So what I'm going to do is just use a zip tie or two to hold the strut around the position we need, because unfortunately I don't have 5 helpers. That's a little bit close to where it needs to be, but we'll keep adjusting it as the car comes down and it should slot relatively into place. Hey Shane, guess what I did?
No idea.
I hooked my phone up to the hoist. Have a look, have a look. Hey Siri, hoist down 2 inches.
Okay, boss.
Ha! This is a common thing when you're putting an engine where it's not meant to be, or even putting the right engine in an engine bay. Getting everything perfectly lined up, there's so many tight little clearances. In this case, gearbox is just catching on that tunnel just a little bit, but we kind of expected that because it's probably not even going to fit in there, let's face it. So we'll just give the engine a little bit of a wiggle. All right, so I think this is the hardest bit now. We've got to guide the steering shaft. We've got to make sure the shock absorbers go into their holes. We've got to make sure that the frame studs go into their holes. All of this has to happen all at once. And we have to make sure the engine is clearing the engine bay and the gearbox is clearing the gearbox tunnel. It's all over the place, but we do our best to watch everything with the 2 eyes that we've got each. 3, if you count. Never mind.
No. On the plus side, engine definitely fits in the bay.
Well, it's there. We haven't
clearly
tried to close the bonnet yet.
Oh, superficial.
That's it, look at that.
Nice.
Look at that.
Huzzah!
Installed.
So we're finally in the bay. Come and check it out. So first impression is pretty positive actually. It looks like we've got a ton of room to fit the things that we're going to put in there. There's, you know, enough room for a turbo system and an exhaust manifold down through there. We've got enough room at the back here for the engine to clear the firewall. It's all not bad. The only thing that's obviously wrong is the angle of this engine is a bit off, and that's because the gearbox is jammed up in the tunnel and obviously not high enough. You know, it's in. It's a great start, and it just looks magic. So here it is, and my experience is already telling me that this gearbox is on a pretty bad angle, and we can't run it like this. That's going to create all sorts of drive shaft problems down the line. We have to get this further up. Just looking in, I can see that there's a contact in the tunnel here. There's this problem that we had earlier when we were putting the engine in the bay, and that's jammed up in there as well. And there's also a spot back here where the gearbox is just pressed up hard against the transmission tunnel. So we're going to have to drop it all out again and find a way to relieve those areas to get us a little more clearance so that we can push the gearbox further up and hopefully get it on the angle we need without having to remove the entire tunnel.
Thanks for watching Supra Supreme. Check out some of our other videos and don't forget to subscribe. We promise it'll be worth it. And of course, head on over to see what's up on Facebook and Instagram.